Every woman has insecurities. The difference is that some women become experts at hiding them. The insecurity controlling your life is usually the one nobody notices except you. Some insecurities are so common among women that most never realize they're all fighting the same battle.
The girl you want to become is only a few levels away. Subscribe and keep climbing.
Level 1. The mirror check. At this level, every mirror becomes a surprise inspection nobody asked for. A quick mirror check somehow turns into a full investigation of every tiny detail. The strange part is that nobody else notices 90% of the things you're worried about. One bad photo can suddenly feel stronger than 20 good ones. At this stage, confidence changes depending on the nearest mirror. The mirror becomes less about appearance and more about searching for reassurance. Some days, the mirror feels friendly. Other days, it feels like your toughest critic. The funny thing is that the mirror never changes nearly as much as your mood does. At this level, self-confidence often depends on what you see instead of what you know. Then, one important realization appears. Maybe the problem isn't the reflection at all. Level 2. The comparison trap. At this level, someone else's success somehow feels like evidence of your failure. A beautiful woman enters the room and suddenly, your confidence starts packing its bags. At this stage, comparison happens so fast that it feels automatic. One glance is enough to start measuring yourself against someone else. The problem is that you compare your behind-the-scenes life to someone else's highlight reel. Suddenly, her hair looks better, her career looks better, and somehow even her coffee looks better. Comparison has a strange talent. It can make a successful woman feel unsuccessful in less than 10 seconds. At this level, there is always someone prettier, richer, smarter, or more confident. The race never ends. The more you compare, the harder it becomes to appreciate your own progress. Most women don't realize that the person you're comparing yourself to probably has insecurities too. The comparison trap becomes weaker the moment you stop treating life like a competition. A flower doesn't feel insecure because another flower blooms differently. The women who grow the fastest are usually the women who stop watching everyone else. Level 3. The social media illusion. At this level, social media starts feeling less like entertainment and more like a daily confidence test. Everyone seems happier, prettier, wealthier, and more successful than they were yesterday. Somehow, every vacation looks perfect, every relationship looks perfect, and every life looks perfect. The camera captures 1 second. Your brain turns it into an entire life story. At this stage, filters don't just change faces, they change expectations. The more perfect the feed looks, the worse real life starts to feel. Most people are posting their best moments while hiding their worst ones. Social media becomes dangerous when it starts defining your value. The truth is simple. Comparison grows where reality is missing. The happiest women online are not always the happiest women offline. Level 4. The need for reassurance. At this level, compliments feel good for a moment, but never last long enough. You ask for reassurance because you don't fully trust your own opinion yet. A single compliment can save the day. A single criticism can ruin it. At this stage, confidence feels rented instead of owned. The search for reassurance becomes exhausting because the supply never feels large enough. No amount of validation can permanently fix a belief you secretly disagree with. The people around you get tired of repeating what you refuse to believe. Reassurance feels powerful because certainty feels unavailable. The strongest confidence appears when you stop asking everyone else for permission to feel good about yourself. For the first time, your own opinion starts carrying more weight than the opinions around you. Level 5. Fear of not being enough. At this level, the biggest insecurity isn't what people see, it's the fear that one day they'll discover you're not enough. No matter how much progress you make, your brain keeps moving the finish line a little farther away. You become beautiful, then worry you're not beautiful enough. You become successful, then worry you're not successful enough. The insecurity survives because perfection keeps changing its rules. At this stage, accomplishments feel smaller than expectations. You start measuring your value by impossible standards nobody could realistically maintain. The funny part is that most people already think you're doing better than you think you are. Confidence struggles to grow when every victory is immediately discounted. For many women, the fear of not being enough becomes a lifelong habit rather than a reality. Then, one powerful realization arrives. Maybe you were enough long before you believed it. Level 6. The overthinking spiral. At this level, a simple text message can create enough theories to fill an entire documentary. A period at the end of a sentence suddenly feels like a national emergency. The conversation ended 3 hours ago. Your brain is still holding the meeting. Overthinking turns tiny uncertainties into giant mysteries. At this stage, silence often feels louder than actual words. The imagination starts writing stories before reality has written a single sentence. Most of the disasters created by overthinking never actually happen. The brain treats uncertainty like danger, even when nothing is wrong. Overthinking feels productive because it keeps you busy. It just doesn't move you forward. The moment you stop demanding certainty, overthinking starts losing its power. Level 7. Hiding the real self. At this level, the insecurity isn't being disliked. It's being disliked for who you really are. You start editing your personality the same way people edit photos. Certain opinions stay hidden, certain dreams stay private, certain traits stay locked away. The goal becomes acceptance, even if the accepted version isn't completely real. At this stage, fitting in feels safer than standing out. The more masks you wear, the harder it becomes to relax. People can't truly know you if they only know the edited version. Ironically, authenticity attracts deeper connections than perfection ever could. The women who seem most comfortable are often the women hiding the least. True confidence begins when authenticity becomes more important than approval. Level 8. Fear of being replaced. At this level, every comparison feels personal because you're afraid someone else might take your place. The insecurity whispers the same question over and over. What if someone better comes along? No matter how much reassurance arrives, the fear keeps asking for more. At this stage, uniqueness feels fragile instead of powerful. The fear of being replaced often comes from forgetting what makes you irreplaceable. Most people aren't competing with you nearly as much as you imagine. The strongest relationships aren't built on competition, they're built on trust. When self-worth grows, the fear of replacement begins shrinking. For the first time, another woman's success stops feeling like your loss. You finally understand that being different is far more valuable than being identical. Level 9. Letting go of validation. At this level, something unexpected happens. The opinions that once controlled your mood start losing their authority. A compliment still feels nice, but it no longer feels necessary for survival. For years, validation felt like food. Now it feels more like dessert. Nice to have, but not essential. At this stage, not everyone has to agree with you for you to feel okay. You stop changing your personality every time a new audience appears. The approval of strangers becomes less valuable than the respect you have for yourself. For the first time, you realize that confidence built internally lasts much longer than confidence borrowed externally. The fear of judgment starts shrinking because your self-worth is no longer on trial every day. At this level, being misunderstood becomes less frightening than pretending to be someone else. The women who reach this stage discover a secret. Validation feels good, but freedom feels better. Level 10, self-acceptance. At the final level, the goal is no longer becoming perfect. The goal is finally becoming comfortable with being human. You stop treating every flaw like an emergency and start treating yourself with more kindness. The imperfections that once felt enormous now feel like normal parts of life. At this stage, you no longer need to win every comparison because you've stopped living inside one. You stop chasing impossible standards and start building a healthy relationship with yourself. The woman who once searched everywhere for confidence finally discovers where it was hiding all along. She realizes that confidence was never about becoming someone else, it was about accepting who she already was. The biggest secret about female insecurities is that almost every woman has them. The strongest women simply stop letting those insecurities decide who they become. If you recognized yourself in any of these levels, you're already one step closer to overcoming them. Subscribe and keep leveling up with Toda Levels.